Can you post it? Pitch 101?
Yes, I can. Let me just make sure that it's live on my page. Yeah, I can. There we go. Share it public, and then I can share it on your page as well.
Perfect.
Share pitch. How's it going, everybody? We're here with pitching guru Squeaky Moore. Squeaky, just say hi and just
Hey,
tell us your
everybody.
story.
Hey. Okay, we're going to jump right in.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. I'm Squeaky Moore, and I am considered the a pitch guru and a development consultant. That's what I do.
Yes.
I'm a content creator, first. And but over time, I've become an author of a book called 100 Pitches Mistakes I've Made So You Don't Have to. And the book really chronicles a journey that I went on to pitch 100 times. Now, I started pitching in 2013.
2013. Okay.
And I started pitching in 2013. And I realized that I had an instinct to pitch, right? Um, I went to the top. I went to the top at 2013 to um, the president of a network, and I sent an email. I managed to get this meeting and flew out to LA to do a pitch. The pitch went well. It went to the next levels, and so over time, to make a long story short, over time, what I realized is that would work perfect. That would work great for me because I had that instinct where I would go so far. I would go next level, and but I wouldn't quite seal the deal.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was that it would, or if they passed on my idea, if it just wasn't right for their network, or they passed on my idea, even if it was great, a good idea, it just wasn't right for them, they would
yes,
pass on it. What it would do is it would take me down. I would start to feel like super um, dejected. Right? I felt like it must be me. It must be the content that
yeah.
I am putting out. I must suck is kind of what my inner dialogue was, and I I would sit the project down for 6, 7, 8 months. And during that time, I realized in order to be great, in order to be really, really great and really achieve the goals that I had set forth, that I couldn't afford to sit my projects down for 6, 7, 8 months. And so I went on the journey. Initially, my journey was simple: to pitch 100 times just to simply rise above rejection, so that I can be able to throw myself back in the game, to hear no enough that it doesn't shut me down, right?
Just to have that
Um,
mentality, right? To have that experience, right? To develop that. I think as content creators, filmmakers, we have to have a little bit of a tough skin, right? Because we're
oh,
constantly
absolutely.
pitching. We're pitching actors. We're pitching producers. We're pitching distribution companies, investors, and it's. And I think more than anything is we have to get to a point where we're not taking it personal, and it's
Yeah.
exactly what you said. And that's one of the things that really captivated me about your story was, I did a little bit of research and I saw some of your live broadcast, and
Mhm.
just the fact that you had so much clarity in the way that you executed your pitch and your message. And I think that's something that, as any filmmaker needs to kind of just, usually when people start pitching, it's extremely convoluted. Like, people have no idea, like, what exactly are you trying to tell me?
What are you saying? Yeah,
Yeah, what are you
absolutely.
saying?
hmm I think I think you hit the nail on the head. Pitching is about mindset, right? To
Hmm.
even go in, your mind has to be in a particular place that is, I mean, you really have to be there mentally, right? To
Hmm.
sell yourself, to sell your ideas. They're going to believe in your passion, right? Um, so mindset is a huge piece, and I needed to be able to arrive. I needed to be able to be in that mindset in order to not be into the mindset of, well, the last people didn't really accept my pitch, so why
Yeah.
would they? One lesson I learned, one thing I learned on this journey of pitching 100 times is that no wasn't universal. It's not universal. Just because it wasn't good for this network or this
Yes.
company or whatever doesn't mean it's not perfect for another. What if they? What if that other place? What if they did? What they didn't say is that actually we just put this particular thing into development, and that certainly. I ended up going back to a senior director at BET because that was my first pitch,
Yes.
and I started asking, you know, what was it? Why did you guys say no? And he said, honestly, because we had two shows like the one you were pitching, both in development that we had already pitched. And he said, I thought yours was better, but we had already,
Yeah,
put those other
committed
two shows.
financially, or yeah.
We only can do 3 or 4 shows a year, and two of them had your themes. One show, a very well known person had one theme, and then another show that they had developed had another one of the themes that was our show was totally based on. And so to know that, now I went and I was dejected. We put this on the shelf for months, all to just find out the product was really great. It's just that they didn't have space for it, right? We
Exactly.
afford that. We can't afford not to be shelving our things because of feeling dejected. So where our mind is key. Feeling confident about what we do, bringing that to the table is everything, because people buy into your confidence before they buy into what you're selling. You
Yeah,
might have
yeah, and
the best thing to sell. Let's just be clear. What we see, everything we're seeing on air or in movie theaters, all that stuff ain't good. It's not good.
of
But I
course.
bet you their confidence is, or how they sold it was, and
Exactly, and
they
the
believers.
preparation too. That was another thing that you mentioned in one of your video blogs. Is just how meticulous you were in preparing, and to I'm more than confident that you did a lot of role playing, like you just practice your pitch to where it's at a certain stage where it's just natural. And you're absolutely right. There's not a particular formula per se, but there there has to be a method to the madness, so to speak, right? And I think more than anything is you being confident in yourself as a content creator, as a filmmaker, and in your project. Whether that investor or that producer, it might not resonate with them, but like at least they're gonna see, oh wow, that person did their homework. They were extremely meticulous. The story, the characters, the material that they presented was top notch. It's just exactly what you said. They already had previous shows that were similar to yours. So,
Mm-hmm.
Squeaky, I'm really curious. So, what was your first project that just made? Because I believe you mentioned that you were in the corporate world, right? You were working at I think it was Viacom. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Viacom. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm pretty sure you were collaborating with a writer or another filmmaking friend, and you just had that epiphany, was like, okay, this is a project and this is what I'm gonna do, and then you just cold called or you cold emailed because that's just
Yeah.
so. It's just so fascinating that you sent out an email and you spoke with the president of a network, and that's pretty much unheard of. So we would love to hear that story.
So the first project, I had been working on a short film called Father's Day, and
Mm,
the idea was to Tyler Perry the thing, right? So we
yeah,
started with the PSA. The PSA went viral. So we knew that was like our A/B testing, which is kind of a strategy that I have with the work that I do. It's like put out something to test the
the
land
market, yeah.
and to see if this is what can interest people. So we did that, and then we said we were going to make the short film, which we did, and that went over pretty well. It was we were going to go to film festival circuit. Aspire Network acquired the project
Hmm.
and the film, and so we were shocked. Like, okay, Magic Johnson has this new network, and they're gonna use our film to kind of kick off the network, which was dope. So we wanted to take it further. I have a love for TV. And so we wanted to create a project based upon the film. But as we got into a development, into developing the project, which is so bad, I reached out to that president before we wrote one word down in development. It is horrible. Never, ever do that.
It was just
I
a log
spent
line, right, or a
half
synopsis.
telling the story, and we thought it was going to be about father absent homes or whatever.
Yeah.
And the end result of after we developed that project, it was completely different. Like we couldn't even push the father absent home thing. So that's another lesson that I'm not going to go into right now. But we developed the project in about 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
We developed a full TV show, a full world with characters and everything. And it was just, we are dreamers. We're big dreamers. I mean, and together our energies, my partner, writing partner at the time, our energies um, really worked well for us because where my fears were, she was strong. She was
Exactly. Yeah.
in where she feared or whatever her fears were is where I, and we never spoke fear, right? We never told each other. We never shared what those things were. I just know where I was fearful, I would remain quiet, but she would be ready to jump off take the big leap. And so I had to follow her. And because I never talked about it, that energy is what catapulted us. That energy is what made me reach out to the president. Um, using the resources around me. I worked at Viacom. I was very scared because I was only like consulting or temping at the time. And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna like fire they're gonna fire me. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I don't have this, that, or the other. But I was willing to break the rules. And I think this is an industry where we have to be willing to break the rules. I write that in my book. Um, and in fact, I always broke the rules, but it was last year I was meeting with somebody at Viacom, an SVP at Viacom, and I was like, "Are you sure?" She said, "Call my cell phone because something happened. Her schedule changed, and she had been putting me off." And so she finally said, "Call her cell phone," and I was like, "Ooh, really? You're gonna give me the cell number?"
Oh, really?
Like, okay. And I was like, "Well, and I went in easy. I was like, I really want to respect, the number." She was like, "Girl, please, you got to be willing to break some rules." And I was like, "Duh." Absolutely. Like, so that's a big thing. You have to be willing to break the rules. And so for me, it was my lifestyle. It was like, I'm gonna get fired, but I'm willing to break this rule because I see the bigger picture. And because
This,
I want the bigger picture so much. And
and
so
that's
we broke
that's
the
that's
rules.
and I mentioned something because I wrote this blog, and it was just a little bit of a self assessment, saying like, if we were just hypothetically speaking, like if we broke down general personalities, I would just break it down to about four. There's people who are extremely action oriented. There's people
Mhm.
who are more emotional, creative.
I read
There's
that. That
there's
blog.
there's the logistic person, the practical person that needs data research, and then we have the social person, right? The person that can just walk in, make friends, and just network, introduce people. And I'm glad that you mentioned that your writing partner, filled that gap, and it was just a perfect mesh, of personality, right? And at the end of the day, no matter how much you prep, no matter how beautiful your script is, if you don't take action, because nonetheless, whether you get that investment, whether you get that development deal, it's just going to give you confidence and experience. Because at the end of the day, it's an experience game in the sense that you have to be extremely comfortable talking to really powerful people at the end of the day, or really wealthy people, or really connected people, and just the amount of confidence and clarity and what you're trying to pitch is extremely important. And this was going to go into a question that I had for you, was like, did you hire any consultants? Did you read any books? Or it just popped in your head like, this is what I have to do, and just go?
Listen, I have so much to touch on. I need to start getting a pen. I need to get a pen because you keep saying stuff that I'd be like, I'm really getting a pen. You say stuff that I'd be like, oh, I need to talk about that. But absolutely not. We had no consultant. There were not. The thing is, there was Google. But we know, as if you're a content creator, either either these are the things that happen. You go, you research. Either the stuff is so general,
Yeah.
right? It's so like general. It may help you, it may give you, help you know, okay, I'm supposed to do this or do that, but sometimes the information is so general that it's like it's not really enough. Or you may not even know the buzzwords, right? You not might not know the right words to search, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know the lingo. You have to know how to speak that language in order to be able to search for the right thing. And even then, what I find is that people that teach how to pitch, they'll say they know what you need, right? But they don't know how to go about formulating it all. So these people weren't out there. These consultants, for me, I couldn't find them. So we
Yeah.
just used, again, I had the instinct for pitching. which, if I break it down, the instinct wasn't for pitching, it was for the things that entail a good pitch, right? The elements that make up a good pitch. I had the instinct to bring those together. But there really wasn't anyone out there. And let me just talk about, my partnership in that article that you wrote. When I read it, I thought, yeah, um, there are four different types of people, but here's where and why that partnership worked. It's because we mixed personalities. So how does that play out in the practical world? How does that play out in what you and I do? We have to be, if you really want to grow, I mean, the smartest leader gather people from each area of those four
Your personalities, right?
categories. So you don't want to get a whole bunch of analytical people. You don't want to get a whole bunch of social people, or you don't want to get a whole bunch of drivers. You want to be able to mix them all to reach this compelling team. And what made me and that my partner work is that we had a mix. We were kind of opposing each other on what we had to deliver. And because we never talked about our fears, we were able to drive forward in a massive way. Um, one of the things that's key is thinking big or acting big, right? Today in my group, I think the group is watching, but today in the group, it's about putting out a post to make us act big. And in this industry, we have to act big. Now, we should be prepared. I don't want to tell people to do what I did when I first pitched, which is to reach out to the president first, get the meeting, and then work on the work, because that left me, even though we excelled, that kind of left me in a bind in some places, and
Yeah.
that's another conversation. But we want to be able to act big, because hitting the send button on an amazing email pitch, it compels us forward. I mean, propels us forward, right? It just makes us say, "Ooh, I got to get
It
active.
creates
I got to
action
move.
and
I got to
urgency.
do
Yeah.
this." You know,
It
and
creates action and urgency.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, so yeah, that was the key with my first writing partner and I, is that we didn't have there was nothing out there for us. I like to say, um, the difference between me as a pitch coach, um, and others, is that they may have the information. This is what these people are going to look for, but not many are saying this is, because you mentioned earlier, like, well, there's no real true, um, template of what you should say in the pitch. And that can be somewhat true, but there are the things that you definitely are going to need to include, right?
Yeah.
There is some things that you're going to need to include. And what I learned, and as far as your materials, and as far as effectively communicating, like you said earlier, that you get so many people that, um hey Ralph, you get so many people that are convoluted. Their message is convoluted. A lot of us are creative. We have the best ideas, but we don't know how to formulate those ideas and to effectively communicate them so that our points are across, so that the most dynamic parts of our creations are spoken of in a way that are really selling them, right? We
Hmm.
don't know how to effectively communicate that. And I believe that I have come up with that way. I believe that I have come up with a way to go about doing it. Like I said, I just left this pitch workshop. I mean, I was invited in as a guest,
Yes.
to speak to a bunch of people, and I hit it on the head. Listen, you start with the premise. You can start with the premise of your pitch. Something about starting at your why, at the why, or at how everything starts before it goes. It takes people on the journey. And as a pitcher, if you're going to be the pitch guru with pitching your stuff, starting there at how everything starts in your project, it just naturally takes you on the journey, the natural journey to tell the rest of the story, to tell the most important things about what you want to get out. And so I like to say I'm one of those first people that are actually taking a stab at what you're going to say and how you're going to deliver your message, your pitch. You know, um, in my case studies, I did a lot of case studies, looking at case studies as what was the key? how did this pitch win? How did they make it on? And in the, on air? How did they make it in the theaters? What was it that won? And as I looked at my case studies, I learned a lot about materials that they used and the delivery. But one thing was key through all of it was storytelling.
The
Period.
storytelling.
We get up there and we pitch facts. We pitch all around our project. We'll say, yeah, so I can market it like this, or I'm gonna get this. I managed to package it or attach this talent. Yep, and I got this, and I got this, and so yeah, it's just really a story about blah 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 blah. But we haven't really brought them into the world and
There you
into that.
go.
That is storytelling. That is what's gonna win in that pitch, and it just doesn't stop at what you say out of your mouth. You have to continue that, which is the key in my book. Continuing that work in the materials that you show, that you bring, that you leave behind. Not that you leave behind, because I don't believe in leaving anything behind, but that you send, right? Everything should be about the story.
Story, okay. And Squeaky, so I mean, that's one of the things too, is like at some point, you have to have the passion that you have for your material pretty much overlap any doubt that you have, any fear that you have, any just lack of confidence, because like that's one of the things, like, when you have a project that's extremely viable, because you see, I mean, it's like everything else, right? The energy is always really high at the beginning, right? And then the work comes, right? The actual writing, screenwriting, doing your script breakdown, getting the budget. So that's stuff that has to be done. But at the end of the day, you still have to have that catapult, which is, exactly what you said, is a story that's going to give you that energy throughout that whole process. Every time you hear no, anytime that, an executive might ask you a question that you weren't prepared for, right? And then, you can kind of circle back into the story and just kind of bring them back into the world of the story, and kind of just mention, like, okay, that's going to be, I might not have the answer to that right now, but that's something that obviously that we're going to focus on together, as a team, and whatnot, and I would love for you to share that first moment when you were at the studio, at the network, and you were pitching the president. And obviously you had a lot of time to make an assessment. Okay, what went wrong? What did I do right? And you mentioned earlier that they gave you some general feedback, and that feedback was mostly, it had to do more with, they had programs that already were kind of dealing with a similar theme and whatnot. But nonetheless, it's very important that people to understand that at some point you're going to have to pitch, and you're going to pitch powerful people, well connected people, and just I guess the mindset that you had, the how, like, did you like, most people do not have that experience yet, right? To pitch at a studio or a network. I don't know if they give you 10 minutes, 30 minutes, because I still come from the independent world. So, I'm mostly dealing with producers, investors, and distribution companies. But executives and, the whole network system is a totally different. It's different, but at the same time, it's still the same. So I would love to hear your that first day that you walked into that studio and you just went.
Oh my God. So we were nervous, but again, we were a duo, right? So if, pitching isn't, if you have a team of people that you're going to come in there with, you can come in there with whomever. Like I had my writing partner, right? Some people, if you're pitching reality, you might come in there with the actual cast, right? Because you want to show um, why this cast is so unique. You want to show the executives how what the world is going to see. You want to show them in the moment, right? So I don't know how you're going to go in there to pitch, but I know at the top your mind has to be right. And I do a whole thing. I do 100 affirmations, like literally. I'm like
Wow.
amped up. It takes a lot to mindset is everything. I don't even I coach, and when I'm working with my coaching clients, I find over and over and over again, and I get it because I'm them, I'm you, right?
Yeah.
That we all doubt. We all have these fears. We start to doubt ourselves. We start to question the value that we're bringing. Right? Is this good? Is this good as what's on TV? We start doing that. So mindset is key. Getting that mind right. I don't even suggest you walk. past the threshold unless your mind is right. And when I say your mind is right, it's one of those who, like you got
Yeah.
to kind of be in that state. That's a state that you have to put yourself in. That's a thing that you can control. But again, there's something about the energy of hitting send on an email that's to a CEO, right? It's something about that. It's like, honestly, pardon my French, but that's kind of badass. Like that's like right. Mm, that says I think highly of this project. I think highly of myself. I think so high that I went to the top, right? And so it's something about going to the top that gives you that. And I almost say if you don't try it, if you're too afraid to do it, I almost say you got to do it, and you got to do it today. Hopefully you're feeding
Do it
off of
now.
my
Yeah.
and you're like, forget it, I'm gonna do it today. And I'm gonna put in the groups today. I think I got like 6 steps that I'm gonna put in there for people to just jump, to leap. Um, but we were really passionate about what we were selling, what we were offering. I learned after that pitch that I went from pitching to offering an opportunity. And I think that's key.
That's
When
a
you're pitching, it comes off as I'm needy, I need you so much. But when you're offering someone an opportunity, it's hey, jump on this before NBC does, or jump on this before the next person does, or that invert. You better get in good while you're getting in. And it's again, it's something about that energy that speaks to the mindset that you have to have going in there. You have to be in the right frame of mind to reach out to people, right? You have to be, you just have to be in the right frame of mind. So that's key. What went wrong? I wouldn't say, we went in and they did have development deals on the table already with some of the themes, but what they felt was is that our project was so good that they did kind of want to pitch it up, bring us back in to pitch it up. We didn't know, to clarify, we didn't start with the president. The president ended up sending it to her development team and saying, hey, I think, these people
yeah.
should be
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
heard. And we went in there and we pitched we pitched the senior director. And he said, I just think it's such a great project that it does need to move up. And it is because we asked for a non-disclosure agreement that because they wanted to get the Bible, the pitch Bible, I
Yeah.
think he asked for, and the script. He said, do you have a pitch Bible? Yes, we do. Do you have a script? Yes, we do. Um, we had in that 3 weeks we developed the show and we wrote a script. The script was not so good at the time, and that's where we would have messed up had we went further into the process of actually handing it over. While we were waiting on our next pitch meeting, we asked for that non-disclosure agreement, and that threw a monkey wrench into everything. And even up until years later, I wouldn't. It wasn't until I was writing my book that I realized that was the biggest monkey wrench.
Squeaky, you're. Can you still hear me?
Am-
Oh, there we go.
Yes, am I here?
Yeah, yeah. It just lagged a little bit.
Sorry.
It just disappeared for a second.
And I know that as independent content creators, Um, we're always afraid that somebody's going to take our stories, or we're going to,
Yeah.
and truth of the matter is that's the very thing that should. Here's the deal. There's no new stories out there. It's just the lens through which we're telling our
Exactly
stories,
your
right?
perspective.
So, and I like to joke around that I remember the day the same writing partner called me. She said, "Turn on Fox. You got to watch the show." So I turned it on. I start to watch Empire. I go, "Oh my God,
That's my
they
story.
stole our idea." Dead serious. They had stolen our idea. The only thing was that's the one network that we hadn't pitched. So I was like, wait a minute.
Did your
Late,
story start circulating? Your pitch start circulating within the
right,
networks?
right. But the thing is, after that, my friend got into development, and I think she was at OWN at the time. She got into development at OWN, and she got into development at some other things. And she would send me so many people threatening to sue Lee Daniels because Lee Daniels had stolen. And so I'm like, nah, he could have stolen our idea and everybody else's idea,
Yeah, I
right? This
remember
one
reading
thing.
a couple of stuff on that.
And but it just let me know that we all share a lot of the same ideas, a lot of the same themes, right? So half the time it's not that somebody is taking our ideas, it's just that we're all having the same ideas, but that's the very thing that should compel you today, because I want whoever's looking at this to take action, right? if if you have an idea and 30 other people or hundreds of other people kind of have the same ideas, kind of similar, doesn't that suggest that you need to move and take action today? Isn't that enough to fuel you, to propel you forward, right? You know what I'm saying? That means we don't have time to sleep. We don't have time to be too afraid to reach out to the CEO. We don't have time to reach out to the executive or whatever we're doing, even if we don't quite know what we're doing, because we have to take action before the next person gets in there, and then it becomes an empire.
Not only that, yeah, you have to be first in, just like in any business, you have to be the first in, because that's at least going to give you, notoriety. Because as soon as anything, like it's like, I'm assuming like you pitch a project to a network, they have
Mhm.
your material, and then they get three or four other pitches. Now, keep in mind, now if that material that you're presenting is already extremely, meticulous, it has a very unique angle on the theme that you're projecting. The packaging is right. The
The
likelihood
packaging.
of the likelihood of that being produced is, exponential now. It increases like, a thousandfold, because all those right elements are there. But once again, you have to take action. And I'm very curious, because throughout your journey, okay, so that was your first pitch, and okay, you went in, and things didn't work out necessarily the way that you wanted. But what was the next day like, the next week, the next month, the next year? Like, you had a pitch,
Oh,
because you pitched
so
like a
so
hundred times, right? So like,
well, that's what that pitch is what prompted me to want to write the book. I shut down. I felt so dejected. We put everything on this, right?
yeah, of course.
And I'm sorry. And then to not get the yes, the green light, it just took me down. So for about 6 or 7 months, we shelved that project. Started working on another one, and I learned that started to be a repeated thing. Like, dang, it didn't go all the way. I got to my second or third pitch meeting, but it just didn't go all the way. Shelve the project, start working on something different, and I knew I couldn't continue to do that. Um, my next pitching. Oh, so I ended up in the book. I talk about pitching an executive producer, one that's quite well known, and she is. And so when I pitched her, I could tell she was interested, but I had been there before, right? This wasn't my next, but this is on the journey, and this is what I talk about in the book. So, um, this is actually the catalyst for why I wrote the book. I She asked me for, she liked the project, and she thought, hey, I think we should start internationally, is what she mentioned. So I was like, oh, this must be
Oh wow.
really good. And so, um, she said, and then she talked about why. The why is because typically, if you start internationally and then you sell it to America, you have more rights, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, okay. So she said, so do you have a format Bible? And I had lied. I was like, yeah, I'll get that to you
Yeah,
in
I
a
got
moment. Hold on, let me see when I get
it.
home. I'm gonna get that to you. And I'm like, what is a format Bible? What is a format Bible? Oh my God, format. It can't, is it different from a pitch Bible? Is it what is the difference? And I got home, didn't know. I started asking people, my peers, people that I really respected in the industry. And I learned, and my peers are women and minorities. That's what I'm around more. And I even took it so far as to ask people that were in development at certain production companies or whatever. But I learned that not many people knew what they wanted. Not people, many people didn't prepare this type of way. They didn't prepare Bibles. They really, that wasn't the thing that was happening. And I was just frustrated. And to make that story short, it took me 6 weeks to get her my Bible. 6 weeks. And in this industry, you cannot afford to take that much time. And through that frustration, that's what forced me to write my book, 100 Pitches, Mistakes I've Made So You Don't Have to, because I knew that we were all just faking it until we make it.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what they wanted. We didn't really know how to prepare these materials, what to do. We didn't know. And so I went on a journey to learn. And on that journey is when I decided to not just journal my what I was doing in these pitch meetings, but and my journey to my pitches even involved getting through the door. Like, what is that email gonna look like? And saying, "Ooh, let me put this one. Oh, this one got this was clicked on. This had a response. So something in it was working.
Yeah, yeah.
What was working? That's what the book talks about. Like, what was actually working in these different emails that got me through the door, and I realized, one, the key was getting through the doors, because sometimes our materials don't always work for us. They work against us sometimes, right?
Mm.
So getting through the door is key. One person we pitched, he said, whoa. He said, honestly, I just brought you in on the strength of, because you knew this person and this person connected you to us. Because when I read this, I was like, but I brought you in because you knew those people, right? That our story didn't necessarily speak to him, or how we sold it, pitched it, didn't speak to him. But when we got in the room, he was like, whoa, you should always work on getting in the room, because what you have to
You have
say
it,
while I'm
yeah.
in your presence is captivating. And I knew, yes, I needed to work on my emailing pitch, but I knew that I was captivating once you get in a room. So I knew I only needed to put enough in the email to get me in there, but I really needed to do the selling once I was in there. That's one of the things that I learned on this journey. But most of us don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to prepare properly, and we can't go in as confident when we don't know, right? And so that's what this journey was about. That's what, when I want to touch on something that you mentioned. You mentioned how we all have these same ideas. When I was writing this book, or when I was on my journey, I decided I didn't want to just make a book about my journey only, even though that was the case and what I learned on my journey. But let me really get information from executives. Let me really get information from the people that were bridging the gap from being independent to professional. The people that went from having an independent film or a short film to actually getting their stuff on TV. Let me ask them what they were doing. What did they do wrong? So that we can learn those mistakes, right? So that we don't have to make the same mistakes over. It can catapult us faster. And in that, I went and I talked to OWN, India Kinney Stearns. I think she was a VP at OWN at the time. I think she's with BET now.
Uh-huh.
Oops. She's with BET now. And as soon as I get there, she gave me 20 minutes of her time. She was really busy for the book, but I'm really grateful to her. And she goes, "Listen, Squeaky, I don't have time for you to come in here when your projects aren't packaged. Packaged meaning you've attached
Talent.
known writers or known celebrities or people that are not seasoned. Because I'm a seasoned actress. I act well. I'm a seasoned actress, but I'm not a celebrity.
Mm.
So people that have actually been there and done that to make your project more viable, stronger, right?" She said, and every network is different, but for OWN, she was like, "I don't got time for you to come in here without a project that's been packaged. If it's not packaged, you're not doing me. Now you're making me do the work. I don't want to do the
Exactly.
work. I don't have time to do the work. I got to put this stuff on TV."
And,
So she said, just to give you an example, Squeaky, today, someone came in here I had two pitches back to back. They had the exact same show. That exact same show almost. She said, "Let me tell you the difference." And she said, "We bought into one. We're going to option one." The only difference was that one was packaged and one wasn't. And
and you
that
have
blew
that's
me
so important for the audience to start recognizing people are extremely busy. They do not want to do the work that you as a producer or a content creator have to do on your own per se. And I know it's extremely difficult because it doesn't it's I mean one of the I'm a real strong proponent of having development funds, because you need cash flow, right? Money's energy. It's going to give you a little bit more options to start building stuff together, because you still, and like I said, I'm still coming more towards the independent film angle. So, we have to have our budgets, our shooting schedules. But when you pitch to a studio or a network, you don't pitch them the budget, or you don't pitch them like, oh, this is going to take 21 days or anything like that, because they have their own line producers and their own UPMs that are going to take care of, those logistical stuff. But nonetheless, it's when you present, when you have as many assets as you can humanly possibly have. So by the time you're pitching somebody who can really make a decision that can literally change your life, that on that moment, they don't want to do that extra work. They want to make sure that, okay, at least you have three actors already attached. You have a director that's already, he might have not done, he might have won Sundance or, Tribeca. He's somebody that's exciting that people want to kind of work with. You have a solid team. You have an experienced line producer that's worked, on, various budgets, and he's delivered. You have, some distribution contacts, and that's so important, because at the end of the day, one thing that I kind of learned was that people not only are extremely busy, but they're a little lazy too. So if you already do all the legwork for them, it's going to be a lot easier for them just to say yes.
Absolutely. So, um, you know, here's the thing. It's so hard to figure these people out, the networks.
Of course.
Technology is shifting daily, right? So they're needing to, we got new presidents, we got all this other type of stuff that's informing how they choose what they're going to pick up, what they're going to whose bandwagon they're going to jump on, and who
Yeah.
they're going to green light, right? And so, um, it's hard to figure out how we should do things. I hear from, I always heard that was an eye opener as far as packaging. Like,
Hmm.
and when I realized, oh, I'm making a big mistake. I'm coming in here with this idea, and I think my idea is strong enough. It's an amazing idea, but I don't got nobody packaged. And that's how I had been. That's how I had spent my time pitching my first 10 or so projects. Right? Great idea, no packaging. So I had to go, whoa, I need to kind of sit back and recalibrate and figure out a different way. Let me start pitching talent to connect. Right. Let me start commissioning writers or whoever I need. Like, who can I get on this team that can make my project more viable? And that's certainly something that, you all that are listening want to consider. How can I make this project more viable? Right. You want to go in with the best, because the more you have, the more control you keep of your project, right? Um, and then on the other hand, you'll have a network that says, it's okay if you come to me without all of that, because I want to have a hand in that part
Yeah.
of the development of your project. So you never kind of know, right? And so, but that's where your research comes in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to research what they're looking for. And there's, in the book I talk about, there's certain keys to how you research and how you use that research in your pitches, in your emails. Now, so today, um, I sent an email pitch to, and I want to clarify what an email pitch is, because it's not me telling all of my business. It's me getting through the door, right? I'm not
Hmm.
submitting. I don't care if you live in a tiny little town in Nevada and you're like, but I'll never reach out to those people. There's Skype. There's all type of ways you can pitch in person, where you can actually live and see the people, right? Um, so today I wrote an email pitch, but before I did my email pitch, I researched. And in my research, I'm not just researching like what the company wants, and that's not, I go deep. I take a really deep dive into, what does the CEO want? What are people saying about the network? What are people saying about the production company? What's the pain point? What's their pain point? Is it out there? Are are there articles written where people are saying this company is losing money based on this, that, and the other? Then I use whatever I've researched and I build it into my pitch, because now I want to hit them with their pain point and show them how I can solve it by pitching my project.
How you can bridge that gap, right? Well, how you can heal
Right?
that wound, or
Right?
so to speak.
Right? So, like I said, while people say, while we may say there's no really right or wrong way, there is some ways that's going to get you further. And So you want to be able to use that research in your pitches. And so today, when I pitched, I made sure I had that dope heading. And again, in the book, I talk about, I actually give the templates. I actually say what worked, give the templates, and then give the responses of what some of the responses of how I got through the doors or whatever in the book. But in today's email, it was like, okay, Squeaky, you got to jump. You got to jump. You got to go big. You got to go to the top. And in reaching out to the CEO, I took that research and I put it in the subject heading. This plus me. That was my thing. That was
No.
my this, because I seen that that's the company that you just acquired. Then you just acquired this company plus me. And I knew that separated me from 1,000 other emails. Just because I know what they're doing.
Because you're adding value, you're doing the research, you're doing the legwork, and you're trying to see where they might be, slacking off, or maybe there's a demographic that's not on the slate of their work that
It says that I know them, that we're sending general emails. We'll create an email pitch to get in the door, but we'll send it to 20 different people. No, you have to be specific research and say, I know you, and what I'm putting in my heading is going to show up in the body. You have to make it the true clickbait, meaning I need you to click on this email. So it's about this company, and I'm going to merge all of what you've been doing over the last year with this idea. And I give them the title of my idea, right? That was what I worked on today. And then in the body of my email, I talked about, listen, I give praise, which is one of the key things that I feel like you should do. You are doing an awesome job with your network. Even though I know you just laid off 100 people, you're doing an awesome job with your network. Keep doing it. You're building morale. I give them the praise, right? And then I go, but there's one pain point. I noticed that this, and this. And then I give them the why me. I know these content creators. I know what they're looking for. I know what they want desperately. And I can bring it. And then I hit them with thinking, what if I can bring that to you? What if I can change the trajectory of where these content creators are going, or where your viewers are going? What if I had the answer for you? Would you want to chat really briefly about it for 15 minutes? Now that was just
it
kind of
happens.
an overview, but my point
That's
is, you
so.
got to be able to be bold and use that research into your pitch. You got to use, but that separates you from the thousands of others that are researching them, that are trying to reach out to them, because it says, I know what you got going on. I know what your pain point is because I've researched it. I
And
know
what
how
did it,
you're growing.
and what did it cost you, Squeaky, as far as like, what did it cost you? Because when you were interviewing, development executives, you're really hitting like some really powerful people, right? And what I mean about what is it costing you, it doesn't necessarily cost you anything other than exactly what you said, is just to be bold, just doing it, just reaching
Right,
out, doing a little
It's
bit
not
of
even
research.
costing anything. Absolutely. Look, listen, it's really our egos, right? We don't want rejection. And that hurts. And I get it, because that's why I started my book out with, in those 2 chapters, which I'll give them those 2 chapters to your
Absolutely.
audience for free, right? They can go on to the pitch101.com. And as soon as they go on, they can get those 2 free chapters of my book, 100 Pitches Mistakes I've Made. So you don't have to, free, that goes to their email. But in those 2 free chapters, that's why I talked about feeling dejected, feeling what it felt like to be told no. Or in the book, that's why I understand. It literally knocks the breath out of us, because these are our ideas, right? So the reason we're not jumping, the reason we're not going to the top is because we're too afraid. We don't want to feel the rejection. And then that might speak on a this is how our minds work. That might speak to our value, our worth. And we don't want to deal with that. So we don't do it. But I'm of the mindset, you got to do it. You got to jump so big, and you got to be bold, and you almost got to talk to that email, that the computer, like, nah. or your phone, however you do your work. Like, you got to be bold to hit that send button. You got to be bold to go to the top. It costs you nothing. When you realize I'm offering them an opportunity, you got to change the mindset, right? I'm not pitching you. I'm not bothering you. I'm offering you an
An opportunity, yeah,
opportunity.
absolutely, because they have to. They need the content too. It's not. Let's don't filmmakers shouldn't feel powerless because these networks, these distribution companies, they need content to begin with. So you have that little boost of confidence or leverage because you know they
Yeah.
need material. And one thing that I want to specify to the community is that there's never been a time where there's just so much demand for content. Like this is like this is like the gold rush of independent content, like all over again. Because everybody's going to war. Netflix is going after Amazon. Amazon's going after iTunes. Everybody's making their own content. You know, Discovery Channel, AMC, FX, Fox. Everybody's fighting for that viewership. So this is a great opportunity to start pitching your, to start developing your own projects. And Squeaky, I want to move towards the a little bit of tough love. I want you to discuss what
Okay.
do you feel is the number one thing that filmmakers, the biggest mistake they do when they're pitching.
Um, well, I think the biggest mistake is that we're not effective communicating our ideas. Not really. We thought we we're getting up there.
I'm sorry, Squeaky, you're breaking off just a bit. If you don't mind, re-answering that question one more time because it just the video dropped for a
Sorry.
few seconds.
Is this better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the answer is that we're not effectively communicating. It's two things. We're not effectively. It's lots of things, but the number one is that we're not effectively sharing or communicating our stories through storytelling. We get in there and we talk about facts. It's about this theme or set in Brooklyn, and it's these little bitty facts, but we're not piecing it together in a captivating story. So that's one mistake that we make. We don't know how to tell story. And I believe I've given you the answer to that. If you start at the premise, of your story, it takes you on a journey, right?
Hmm.
We developed our ideas, and a there's a way to develop out our ideas, or we fixate on these amazing characters, but we don't really create the amazing world around them. And I like to say that throwing it's like putting names. You think of a canvas, right? If you're going to paint a canvas, what if I just put a bunch of names on a canvas? That doesn't really paint the picture, right? If you're just taking some great characters and you really spend a lot of time on developing these amazing characters, what you've done is you've put these amazing names with a bunch of adjectives to describe them on a white canvas. But we forget about the world in which these characters live, this world that they're driving, and that's the lens. That's what makes your project different. I like to always use the idea of, you just take LA. You say this is set in LA, right? And what I'm talking about is your development materials, right? The development piece, the pitch Bible, the format Bible, which are
Hmm.
keys to how you set. There's right. They're the keys. And so if you say, this is this takes place in LA, well, to LA for many people is many different things. There's the entourage LA, there's the insecure LA. Those are very different backdrops. Those are very different worlds,
Yeah,
right?
world.
And so we spend little time on the worlds and we spend lots of time on these amazing characters. And I think that is to our detriment, that we haven't, and we don't pitch the worlds.
and the mythology of the
That's
world. I think that's the for at least for me, like when something that captivates me is when you can tell when a story has mythology. And what I mean, it has a backstory, it has
mm-hmm,
its own rules, like
mm-hmm.
it has something very
Rules, yes.
unique, and that really adds to like what you're exactly what you're saying. And I'm just so enthralled with what you're saying, is like, you're inviting these people into a specific world, and that world has its own point of view, it has its own rules, it has its own characters and stuff like that. And at least with me, like when I pitch, I like starting off with a question, because like, a question automatically makes them think, it makes them a little bit more engaged, and then you
Mm-hmm.
start going into the pitch. And obviously it depends on the material, depends on your genre and your log line and how you want to execute it. But the more engaged they are, exactly what you're saying with the story. I mean, this is what one of the last questions I was gonna ask you was this: is when did you feel that you had it already? Like, you already, like, okay, regardless if you get rejection or regardless if somebody passes, you have that confidence where you can still go into a room and just make people fall in love with you, make people fall in love with your project, and just know that
Yeah.
this is a content creator that can is good, not only is prepared, but is going to end up delivering, because that's another bridge we have to cross as content creators.
Mm-hmm.
We have to
Mm-hmm.
deliver on exactly what we said we're going to do. And I know there was a moment where just things started meshing for you, when things were just aligning, and things were just changing for you. And then your body language, the way that you spoke, the people that you started hanging out with, I mean, it just started just coming together, like like a like a nice
Yeah.
puzzle.
I think, I keep mentioning mindset because that's half the battle. Um, that when you show up with a particular mindset, you've already won. But I remember particularly having a mind shift about how I showed up.
Hmm.
And I realized I used to look at, if it didn't go all the way, I lost. But I had a mind shift, a perspective change about that, because um, what's happened now is that even if they don't, you want to be a repeat offender in
Yeah,
this situation,
I
right?
love that word.
You want to be able to constantly ring their doorbell, pick up the phone, or open their door, right? And so you have to make your pitches a win-win. You have to show up in a way so prepared, so passionate, so ambitious that even if they don't go for the idea, you still won, because their mentality is, that girl can walk through my door any day, because I know she only is gonna reach out to me if she has something good, whether it's right for us or not. She's only gonna reach out when she's completely prepared, extremely passionate, and she's gonna share an idea. So I can trust Squeaky that when she walks through the door, she's gonna have everything buttoned up. She's gonna have crossed her eyes and crossed her T's and dotted her I's, right? And that's the win-win of it all. And I think when I had that mind shift, now I can go into a meeting and I go, listen, I got 7 ideas, 3 of mine, 4 of other people's. Um, Let me just softball them all. You tell me what you're interested in, and that's the pitch that's the story I'll share, right? Because I know they need to see me as the content creator, the one that can possibly provide them. You know, they want to be able to say, we need to have Squeaky in the room no matter what. And that's the win. That's what you want to take away. It's not about if they take this idea or not. It's about, once I share this idea and effectively communicate it, I'm going to build a trust and a relationship with this executive or this investor, so that they can always be ready to bank their money on me should my idea match with theirs. And I think that's the win. That's the takeaway. Did I
And that's
answer your
so
question?
that's so important, Squeaky, because it's I honestly believe, and it's people might take it kind of like new agey, but like it's as soon as you have confidence in yourself and in your material, you really start communicating and acting completely different than being
Mm-hmm.
doubtful, or being neurotic about your material, and constantly judging yourself. And you have to get to that state where it's this is the opportunity, this is the legwork I've done, and this is what I'm attaching to this project. And then at the end of the day, there could be 1,000 reasons why they pass, or even 1,000 reasons why they finally say yes. And I think at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
still, it's and you mentioned it so well. And I'm obviously feeling this throughout our conversation, is like it's just the way that you communicate with it, with everything, and the way that you embrace your message, and you let it resonate with who you are. And you're literally doing what you said you're doing. You're inviting people into your world, right? You're inviting them into your paradigm, into
Yep.
your point of view and stuff like that. And I really would love the members to really start considering how important it is to get to a level where to be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I need help already. I'm not getting. I'm sending 20 emails a month, not a single reply. And I would love to discuss. First off, I would love to just remind everybody that go to the Pitch 101 to get the first two chapters of Squeaky's book. And once again, I want people to start realizing at some point, when things become stagnant, I would say after being stagnant for a month or 3 months at the most, something's not working. It's either your network, it's your delivery, it's your pitch. So I would love to discuss, Squeaky, like, how are you helping filmmakers accomplish their goals by, with your services, your book, your knowledge, and your experience?
So I do several things. I coach one on one. And that is an environment where we can really craft out and structure the pitch so that you're telling the story, you're adding in those facts that you usually typically will go into, and we're building up the story based on the research. And typically that takes about 3 weeks. It's 3 or 4 sessions, but each session there's like this homework that we give, things that we're
Mhm.
looking for, things that we want to build into it, like building in that research. And we literally draft out a pitch. So that's one way. I do webinars. I do workshops, in-person workshops. I do a lot of teleseminars. I have a I believe in the business as a whole, understanding the business as a whole. And I know I'm not expert in the business, so I bring experts to the Pitch 101 community on Facebook, or to
Mhm.
a teleseminar, so that we can learn the business. And I moderate, or I curate these conversations so that we're always constantly growing. But so that's the mission, that's the goal. I'm still on tour for my book, and I'm going state to state, covering the state to do many workshops. But I'm also bringing these executives to the people. Like, I want to bring them to you. I want to hit the pain point of, we don't accept unsolicited materials. Well, you come to my tour, you come to my workshops, you know, you can build your own
Pitch.
relationships because I've brought them. You can rub elbows. You can say, break the rules for me, because now we know each other. This is what I have. You can pitch, do your quick pitch, and then hopefully do a longer pitch. Um, yeah, and that's what I'm doing. But basically, and then I'm also helping people to develop out their projects, because I know what's expected. I know what's wanted. And so some people are coming to me and saying, "Hey, I got a book that I'm trying to break down and put into, some form of a script,
Mhm.
or I have a web series. I know what I want to do, but how can I do it?" And it's like, step by step. Let's work together. Let's build this out. Let's nurture. In development, it's really about. It's not about my ideas. It's about nurturing the ideas you have, to put them all together, into a full, complete story, or project, or episode, or seasons. And so that's what I do. I do, one-on-one coaching, and I do development.
And it's so important for independent filmmakers to start really investing in themselves, start reaching out to
Yeah.
people who have more experience than you. And what I mean about investing in yourself is it's like anything else. It's like if you go for a particular service, whether you go to a mechanic, you go to a doctor, that person spent years and years and years mastering their craft, and they're going to bridge that gap Because at the end of the day, we all want to get to a point where we're leapfrogging, where things are just more kinetic and faster. And if that comes with a price tag, then so be it. That people have to really invest in their careers, especially because I would just right off the top of my head, I would say 95% of all filmmakers do not live in LA. So for one, you don't have those resources. You don't have workshops, seminars. You don't have
Mhm.
film markets, film festivals as prestigious as stuff that goes on in LA. Like AFN, there's nothing like that here. Like South by Southwest is the closest one that we have here in San Antonio because it's in Austin, which is an hour away, and that's a huge market. That's something that I have to physically go because it's like the hugest market I can pitch to.
And it's once a year.
And it's once a year, exactly. So if you as a filmmaker, you start reaching out to people who really have credibility, that have experience, and regardless of that price tag, you have to eventually. I don't want our communities to spend 3-7 years trying to constantly banging their heads and like, why isn't this working? Why am I not getting investors? Why is the cast rejecting this project? Or why does the agent say, like, I'm passing? And it comes down that you need proper training, and you have to reach out to people like yourself, like Squeaky, and once again, Squeaky, so people can get a hold of you and get the first two chapters of your book, 100 pitches on.
Hashtag 100 pitches,
Ash,
mistakes I've made so you don't
you don't
have
have
to. It's
to.
on Amazon. It's also on the blog, the pitch101.com. Yeah, the pitch101.com. You can get it from there as well. Um, and it literally walks you through my mistakes so you don't make them, but it also walks you through development, and it walks you through pitching practices. Like, these are some ways you can, it takes you through, I think I have 4 or 5 different pitch practices, like how to start, because a lot of people don't know what to start with or how to start. And so I say, I actually give a template of, do this, do this, do this, put the timer on this. How did you do? Journal it, that type of thing. So hashtag 100 pitches, mistakes I've made so you don't have to. And you can get that from the pitch101.com, or you can go to Amazon and get it.
Well, Squeaky, I would love to thank you for your time, your insight, your passion, your clarity is something that it just resonates with who you are, and I think people are going to really connect to your message. And I highly recommend. I already ordered the book to begin with, so I'm waiting for it to get here physically, so I can read the rest of the book. Because the first two chapters were just it felt like a film. It felt like a thriller because I know I've been in those situations you're just going through the motion because you're feeling another filmmakers struggle, that journey that all of us have to take. And once again, Squeaky, I can't thank you enough. And as a final reminder, if you want the first 2 free chapters of her book, go to thepitch101.com. And if you want to inquire about additional services or collaborating with Squeaky, feel free to email her as well. And your email is on that website as well, right, Squeaky?
I have a contact page. Yeah, it goes straight to
Awesome,
my
awesome.
email.
Well, thank you so much once again, Squeaky, and I hope you mentioned that you're going to be inviting me to your group as well. So I would love to join and speak my truth on there as well.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Because
Well, thank you so much, Squeaky. You have a beautiful day.
you too. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.